Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, September 19th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you are someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple of clarification points. Number one, the price you see over here will still be changing and moving around. And then the candlestick you see right there will also be moving around. That is because the market is still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, AAPL, Apple. Maybe you've heard of it. But very popular stock, obviously, and had some pretty significant technical events today. And the one event that stood out to me, because I'd been casually watching this trend line right there, was the fact that, okay, maybe this starts to form some sort of wedge-like pattern, but then today with the gap down, that was all wiped away, and that no longer is the case. And just based on foundational rules and charting, when levels of support, which going into today, that line would have been considered an area of support, but when they're broken, they tend to act as a resistance. And wouldn't you know it, right there this morning, the price tried to bounce back up through there, got rejected, and then late day today, once again, is having some trouble with that former area of support now acting as a resistance. Now, that does not mean that Apple can't get back above this area, and we'll call it right around the 150-135 area. So not saying Apple can't break 150-135. I'm just saying it makes sense why the price is currently struggling at that area. In fact, I can probably zoom in here a little bit more to make it easier to see. But just keep an eye on that as that initial area of resistance, because to give some credit where credit's due, nice little bounce here is underway. But the question just becomes, okay, yeah, but is there any sort of genuine power behind this movement? Is there any sort of genuine strength? And the first test for that will be, how does the price behave up around that level? If the price does get up through the 150-135 mark, next key level to keep a very close eye on will be that purple line up there, the 50-period moving average. So you want to watch that. As far as levels of support, nothing fancy or complicated here. Literally just a question of where did the bleeding stop today? And that was right at 148.50. So 148.50 going to be a very important level. You know there's going to be a bunch of shorts watching that level, and rationally so, thinking that the price goes down there and then breaks down through there, that break could create even more downside selling pressure. So like I said, that's a rational thought process in there, and doesn't mean that it's for sure going to happen, but like I said, at least the logical area to think about. So keep your eye on these couple levels here for Apple. Next one, AAOI. Huge price movement today, huge volume, and not a whole lot to say other than it's worth keeping an eye on, which is the whole idea of a watch list, is to find unique, to find interesting situations, and not randomly rush out and buy something, but to watch it and see how the price behaves and if it does ultimately behave in a way that fits your personal risk tolerance and your personal strategies. So are there any beautiful patterns here? Are there any beautiful setups? I can't say that, because essentially this thing is just grinded straight up basically all day long on very, very large volume. But that in and of itself is worthy of a watch list, because when things have a lot of movement, when things have a lot of volume, it's worth continuing to watch until maybe some sort of pattern does develop. Now, maybe I have a blind spot here. Maybe there's some sort of pattern that you're seeing that I'm not seeing, but I don't see anything that really jumps out at you. But what I do see is just the fact that this thing has had huge volume and has essentially gone straight up all day long. So worth, at least in my opinion, keep an eye on Monday and seeing if more of some sort of technical pattern forms up that then you could then build a trade plan around, or who knows, maybe just like to play stocks with insane momentum and try to play that momentum on the way up. Next one, NIO, and this will mean a bit more to those of you that watched the past videos, but had been talking about this one and talked about 2150 being a key level of support, and you can see that level was violated. However, did I think that it would get this nasty? I didn't, but yeah, no doubt about it, a very nasty day today on that break. I mean, things have been looking so strong, but the price really rolled over. Now, is it a complete catastrophe? I think that's a little overly dramatic, but there's also no need to beat around the bush. Today was certainly a very rough day, and the reason why I'm not saying it's a total catastrophe is the price is still up above a very important moving average. That line right there, the pink line, the 200-period moving average, currently valid at 1965. Now, if the price goes down there and then blasts through there, at that point, that would be something signaling something very significantly wrong with the chart. But like I said, that hasn't happened, and to be fair, the price hasn't even tested that level. But overall, still a pretty big breakdown from that level that had been forming earlier on in the week. If there is any sort of bounces, then as far as resistance levels, just goes back to the idea that the price is now down below that purple line, 50-period moving average. So that would be the main area of resistance. But in my opinion right now, At least I don't think the main dynamic is going to be levels of resistance and breaking through levels. Right now, it's just essentially kind of damage control mode. When is the price going to try to level off? When is the price is at least going to illustrate that some sort of bottom is forming? And as I speak right now, last 30 minutes, you can see this candle is once again starting to approach those lows. So who knows? Does it break down further into the rest of the day? As of right now, there's 12 minutes left in the day. So still 12 minutes of time for this thing to maybe pick up some more downside pressure. But yeah, right now, things are looking kind of shaky. Next one here, NIO, AMC, but I wanted to put this very strategically right after NIO because same general premise here. Things have been looking so good, and now all of a sudden, things are working its way downwards. Now, the one difference is AMC is actually now breaking down below that 200 period moving average, whereas NIO at least had going in its favor. Well, at least the 200 period hasn't even been tested. But in this situation, it has been tested, and as I speak, it is breaking to the downside of it. So is that end of the world? I'm not going to say that, but is that a pretty big, nasty signal for the bulls? Yeah, that's not a great signal within the world of technical analysis. So that's something that's definitely going to need to be monitored next week, is just, how bad does this breakdown actually get? Now, maybe it's a very anticlimactic breakdown. Maybe the price just levels off and then all of a sudden snaps back up. That's always possible. However, you do have to admit that is a two-sided coin. So, maybe this is the start of something much bigger to the downside. But again, going back to the whole idea of a watch list, this is a very interesting situation. And those are the situations we're looking to watch and see how they ultimately behave. So if you're somebody that likes to play breakdowns or likes to play the start of breakdowns, you could have that here. Maybe you like to play false breakdowns and you like to play bounces. Well, you have a potential there, right? So that's why risk manager is important, because somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong. But the underlying dynamic is the same, and that being this is an interesting situation, so certainly worth watching. Next one, DRUG, and this is one where you do have a good solid pattern here. So unlike AAOI, which was just in complete beast mode, I would say that this one's got more of a pattern that I think a lot of people are probably watching. So in my opinion, a lot of people have drawn that trend line right there. A lot of people have drawn a level similar to right around there, around $1.45. And I'm saying a lot of people because when a lot of people are watching the same levels and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can certainly produce some very dynamic movements. So moving forward here, just to try to keep this all the same color, make it easier to see, we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big momentum move right here, and then make it a little bit more visual. For you golfers out there, we'll put a golf hole down here, and this would be known as a bull pennant pattern. So again, guarantees, no, but is it plausible? Is it valid to think that if the price can come up here to the top of the pattern and get the breakout, that breakout in and of itself, even if it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy, could create additional buying pressure? That's certainly a plausible outcome to think through. So if you like to play stocks down below $2, if you like to play bull pennants, here you go. Real quickly, wanted to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online event that I'm offering next week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used, and why it's so powerful in helping traders build consistency, then definitely get signed up for the free training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description box to click on. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more, definitely get signed up for the free event. Next one, SONN for you penny stock players. And this is a very basic premise here. The premise being a nasty, nasty move. I mean, think about this. The price gapped up, opened there, came all the way up there, and then crashed all the way back down there. And then finally, the price has started to go sideways. And the started to go sideways is the interesting part. Now, let me be very clear, and I wish I could say trading was this easy. Just because the price crashed and just because the price started to go sideways does not mean that for sure guaranteed this is the bottom and that for sure guaranteed there's going to be a bounce. My point here is it plausible? Is it valid to think that this sideways action is a leading indicator that maybe the bottom is in and this thing's going to get some sort of bounce, even if it's just a dead cat bounce? Yeah, that is a plausible thought process to have. Case in point, let's just say the price was still dropping, and I'm sitting here saying, hey, it's looking like the bottom might be in. You'd be totally justified to say, what are you talking about? Based on what? The price is literally still dropping, Clay. Why would you say that this is the bottom? But that's not the case here, right? The price has at least started to go sideways. Again, a guaranteed bottom? No, but it becomes much more rational to think so. So assuming you can honor risk management plans, then if you do get some sort of bounce, then, compared to what's being risked, you could be looking at a very good risk-reward situation here. So like I said, if you like to play penny stocks, I definitely keep an eye on it. Next one here, TSLA Tesla. Very, very impressive day, especially when you consider the context that there was this gap down. Opening 30 minutes were brutal. Next 30 minutes, not much better. And then after that, just price slammed on the brakes and said, all right, let's go the other direction, and essentially grinded higher and higher the rest of the day. So much so that, as crazy as it seems, it's looking like this 305.50 mark, which I've talked about several times now in past videos, may once again be within striking distance on Monday. So 305.50, definitely a very key level of resistance. It's got quite the track record here. But like I said, earlier on in the day, did I think I'd be talking about 305.50 maybe being within striking distance on Monday? Of course not. The price was all the way down here, which just, again, illustrates how solid of a day it is. So in all actuality, Tesla, the chart right now, very straightforward. What I am going to do is actually adjust this area down here to 296 as that main area of support now. But in my mind, that's what it's all about. Maybe some sort of just sideways channel pattern is going to form next week where you have the top of the channel at 305.50, bottom of the channel at 296. That's possible, but who knows? If this upwards grind continues, then perhaps the price just comes up here and just said, no, we're going to keep grinding and break up through that break up through that sideways channel. But as of now, maybe a sideways channel is forming. Again, top of the channel resistance 305.50, bottom of the channel support 296. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Next one here, AMD, and same general idea. Sure, the chart looks a little bit different, but I want to put it right after Tesla because once again, we were talking sideways channels, and it's looking like now that we have more data, like Tesla, I'm not going to sit and repeat myself, a potential sideways channel here is starting to form. Obviously, the numbers being a little bit different. Top of the channel resistance right up here at the $78 mark. Bottom of the channel support down there at $74.75. So right now, it's just a question of, okay, we have an interesting situation. We have a unique situation with a potential sideways channel, but it just becomes which way is it going to go? Maybe you like to, just play these channels, chopping back and forth. Maybe you like to wait for breakdowns, breakouts. So whatever your strategy is, that's up to you. But the core here is that this is a potential sideways channel pattern. So if you do enjoy sideways channels and fit them some way into your trading strategy, then I definitely keep an eye here on AMD. Next one, CCL. I like this one for a very straightforward reason because there is a very straightforward level to watch. And as I've mentioned already, I'm not trying to imply that me drawing this level here at 280 is a special talent, great discovery. I think a lot of people have drawn that line. So you do once again introduce the whole idea of self-fulfilling prophecies. So is it guaranteed that if the price comes up to 1080 and breaks it, that it's going to for sure shoot upwards? No, of course not. No guarantees. But is it plausible? Is it rational? Absolutely. Especially when you consider checkout last 30 minutes here, volume coming in very nicely. So worth at least keeping an eye on that. If that level is broken, then really you have quite a bit of free space up until right around that 1115 mark. So worth at least keeping an eye on the 1180 mark. As far as levels of support are concerned, very recently you can see the price is truly respecting that purple line there, 50-period moving average. You can see a bunch of times back here respected that level and then respected it earlier on in the day. And that level is currently valued around the $10.60 mark. So keep an eye on that. But overall, like I said, in my opinion, most interesting dynamic is that 1080 mark. And we'll see if the price can get the break of it or not next week. Next one, SQQQ, and I wanted to end with this because it's not technically a stock. It is an ETF, but it is an ETF that allows you to make money if you think that the NASDAQ is going to continue to fall as it has been. So as the NASDAQ market falls, this one actually rises in value. So it's just a way for you to capitalize on that. Been tracking it quite a bit because it is a very popular ETF out there. And a tricky one today because the price gapped up, broke through that area of resistance, which I talked about previously, and all day long, for the most part, stayed above the level, maintained the breakout, maintained the breakout, maintained the breakout, and then this afternoon showed up, and the price has now fallen back below the breakout point, which makes this, it's still an attractive setup, it's still an attractive situation, but it has become a bit more confusing because now you have to throw out the question, okay, so is this just a false breakout? And now this thing's going to roll back over, or is this kind of just a false breakdown? All of a sudden, this thing's going to, snap back upwards. Both of those are possible. It's a two-sided coin. So as always, risk management matters, and that's why. But I did want to map out one more area of resistance that was become very clear today. You can see that the price really struggled whenever it got up around 50.80. So you're going to want to keep an eye on that if the price can recover back upwards. And I'm also just going to go ahead and get rid of that line because it served its purpose for now. On the pullback, though, if it does continue to pull back, you do have this gap close location right here, which is essentially where it's at right now at 48.80. But if that level doesn't quite hold up, then you're going to want to keep an eye on that purple line there, 50-period moving average right now valid. Let's just call it at $47.50. So yes, again, very interesting, kind of a confusing situation because it got the breakout and then is seemingly failing, but we'll see if that carries into next week or not. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want to encourage you and invite you to get signed up for the free training that I'm offering next week. Like I said, it'll be Thursday, September 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format and would like for me to continue to put in the time and effort required to get this content to you, please do two things to help me out. Hit the like button, leave a simple comment, say hi, tell me what you're doing this weekend, tell me what you traded, tell me what you're watching Monday, but any sort of comment and then hitting that like button, like I said, goes a long way, helps me out, helps the channel out, which I really do appreciate. So again, get signed up for that free training, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. Everybody, thanks for watching, take care, and have a great weekend.